Okay, today I'm going to work on a project. We had a customer come in and was looking to make a certain bubble that was the top like this, that button in the back, but it was one piece. And then I think we might put a box plate down the front. So we're going to work on that today and just trying to combine the top of Harper with the bottom of Taylor. We're going to do the boy version. So I've got the pieces out. I'll need this is the front top of Harper. I'm going to put it, line up the center fronts here with the Taylor bottom, and I'll retrace this. So I'll probably just trace out from here down, so I'll have a new front piece, and then the same on the back. I'm just gonna follow this line out and trace down, and so I'll cut out those two pieces and the outside fabric, which we're going to use these little lambs, and the lining. Okay, so I'm going to make a 2-inch pleat in the front. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and stitch the pleat first before I cut out the pattern. So I'm just going to measure over 2 inches and draw my line. And I'm not going to stitch all the way down because I don't want to have it stitched all the way down. I'm probably just going to stitch it down maybe like 1, 2, 3, like 4 inches or so. Okay, so I pinned the pattern around, and I just kind of eased out the pleat at the bottom because I don't really want the pleat in the crotch. So just kind of ease it out where it's flat down here in the crotch, and I'll trace it and then do the other side. Okay, the back I will cut out just on the fold and have the fold along the center back. Okay, I've also cut out the front and back lining, and I did not do a pleat on the lining part. I just cut it out just flat. So okay, so we are going to have to do something a little bit different in the back since we won't have like a normal the placket we would have had if we had done the Harper. So I got these instructions actually from one of the files on Lizette's Facebook page. That's So Classic for Children. So it's on there if you want to look, but I measure down 5 inches, and I'm going to just cut down this, and then I'll show you what's next. Okay, so for the placket piece, I have cut a strip that's 1.5 inches wide by 5 1/4 inches long, and the length is measured by how long this is plus 1/4 inch. So this was 5 inches long, so I made this 5 1/4, and then I'm going to go and I'm going to stitch this together. Okay, so I folded that in half, and then I stitched the ends down, and then I'll probably just trim that off and then flip it right side out. Jennifer's gonna be in my video now. Okay, so I'll flip that and iron it down, and then it's gonna end up going right in here. Okay, so then I'm gonna just sew the shoulder seams for the lining and the outside with right sides together. Okay, so now I have pinned the right sides together of my lining and my outer fabric, and I'm going to match up the side seams or the shoulder seams, and then match up this slit, and then you have your little placket piece sandwiched in between here, and so I'm going to stitch from that point up around the neck and then back down to that point, and then we'll sandwich that placket piece in between there. Okay, so now I will just clip around my neck just to help it turn, and then I will understitch it. And to understitch it, I'm going to take the lining and separate it from the outside, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch this seam down to the lining, and that'll help keep it from like rolling, the lining from rolling forward to the front. So I'll just stitch it down right along here. so I turned it right side out, and you can see how it made the little placket in the back, the little strip pokes out, and so you can sew your buttons on there and button holes here. So now I'm going to sew my arms holes to the lining, and I'll use the burrito method for that. So I want right sides together, this right side to this right side of the lining. So what I'm going to do is open that up, kind of sandwich this other side in, and then match up my seams. And I'll pin that, being careful not to catch this other side in there. And then just line up, just making sure you got the right armholes lined up. And once I have that pinned, I will sew all along that armhole. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah. I'll sew all along there, and just make sure you don't catch the other side in it. Okay, so you can see I have that armhole sewn up, and I'll clip the curves there, but then I can just pull through this side, and you'll see how that armhole is closed up or finished. And then I'll just do the same thing with this side. I'll open that up, stuff that one inside, and then pin this. Okay, so now I'm going to sew up one side seam. I will take and put the right sides together of the main fabric, and then the right side together of the lining, and then just sew straight down that seam. Okay, so I sewed up one side here, and then I'm going to sew down, across, all the way over and down. But to do that, I'm just going to flip it so I have right sides together. And then I'm going to sew all the way along there. Okay, so this has been sewn up all along the bottom. And I'm going to sew up this side seam, but leave an opening on the inside to do, so I can put the elastic in. So I'm going to just put right sides together of the lining and right sides together of the outside fabric, and I'll start like, here, sew all the way around, and then stop here and leave an opening in there. Right, just to show this a little bit better, I'm sewing up that other side seam. I'm going to line up the seam here, make sure I've got the main fabric together and the lining together. I'll pin that, and then you'll just pin the lining together, and then pin the main fabric together, and just make sure that you get both of the seams lined up there. So I'm going to sew starting here, sew around there, and then finish up about right here. So when you have it pinned up, it's going to look like this, which looks kind of like a mess, but I'll just work it so that this part is flat. Get that under my needle. And then just start sewing. Just making sure you're keeping it flat as you go around. Okay, so that's sewn up, and you'll see there's just the opening here. So I'll be able to reach in and put my elastic in after I sew my casings. Okay, so I've stitched the casings. It's kind of hard to see down here, but in there. And then what we'll do is just reach in through the opening and get my elastic up in there. So I got my safety pin on it, and I will just use that to pull it through. And once you get the end up there, you can stitch one end, stitch that down, and I'll pull it through and stitch it down over here. Okay, so then you just have to close up your inner, the hole that you left open on the inside, and you can do that either like I did. I just put it together and sewed it straight, or you could hand whip it if you don't want the stitches to show, but since it's on the inside, this to me is perfectly acceptable. Okay, so I finished, got the elastic in, the snap tape on the crotch, did buttons and buttonholes, and added just some little buttons right here down the front, and it's finished. So I think you could do this style for a boy or a girl. You know, it's different from the Taylor because it's not, the buttons aren't here and the neck's going to be higher. The Taylor's a little bit lower. Anyway, I think it's a cute little option for a little bit different style bubble.